I think it's very easy to get caught up in this is the horse aspect without understanding how did this become a reality? How is this a maintained reality? And I want others like us to know that it's doable. We weren't all, born with silver spoons or any spoons, but it can be done and it can be achieved. And I don't think I think it is important to give a realistic three-dimensional aspect of it.
I am. I am.
I am.
I am a young.
I am a young.
I'm a young.
I am.
And I am a young
Black.
A young black.
Young.
Black.
A young black.
Black equestrian.
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 Black equestrian.
Equestrian. Black equestrian.
equestrian.
Black equestrian.
I'm a young black equestrian.
I am a young black equestrian.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Young Black Equestrians with your hosts, Abriana Johnson
And Caitlin Gooch.
Today, we have the fine chocolate man with us here today, Robert Bowden, who is not only a chocolatier. I said that right? Chocolatier.
Yes, you're right.
But he also has horses, competes, and is, about that equestrian life. So we wanted to bring him on the show today to share his story, his journey, and really everything he has to offer from entrepreneurship to equestrianism and everything in between. So welcome to the show, Robert.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Hey.
So we know about you, and we've been, back and forth, talking, engaging for quite some time now, but I know that everybody watching doesn't know who you are or what you do. So briefly tell us, your location, current discipline you have, current horses you have, just give us a brief rundown.
Okay. At this very moment, I am in Wartrace, Tennessee. I'm at a farm here. I have place. My permanent residence is New Jersey, but I'm originally from the South, so I still have a place here in Tennessee. I am a chocolatier by profession. I make custom chocolates for corporate gifts, events, business and people, just things. That has been my career for the last 7 years, almost. I've had my business going for about 7, 8 years. My discipline, my breed of choice is Tennessee walking horse. I embrace all the disciplines with that. I think I love showing horses. I'm very competitive. And so I have over the years competed in pretty much all of the disciplines within that: saddle seat, driving, Western, obstacles and endurance. I've done all of those. I like saddle seat because I get to dress and wear and show a style aspect as opposed to just eventing. But I really love driving. Driving, if I could have a passion, it would be driving. I like fine harness. I like the pageantry of it. I like the showiness that makes it stand out from just an endurance type thing. So that's what it is. Oh, and I have 2 horses. I have an 11-year-old mare and I have a 3-year-old stud that I recently put in training. So that's where we are. I'm trying to finalize the gelding that I mentioned in passing. So when that happens, I will be back on to talk about him too. But no, I have a mare and a stud, and they're both performance and pretty cool. I like them.
Awesome. So how did you get into horses in the first place?
I was born into the business. My dad was a horse trainer before I was born. I really didn't know that until I expressed interest in horses. I mean, we went to horse shows, he knew horse people, but I didn't know until I was about 7 or 8 that my dad was actually a competitive trainer. Because by the time I came along, he had started another company and was, his profession was custom furniture. He built furniture. So I sort of took for granted that all of our family friends had horses. I just thought everyone had horses, so I didn't think anything of that. But I expressed interest in wanting to compete and going to shows fairly early. And so I started riding when I was 7, started competing when I was 10. And so it's been a full life passion ever since. So.
Wow. What was your first horse?
My first horse was a yearling that I didn't know was a yearling. My dad, I was about 10 years old, and I wanted a horse. Of course, I rode horses and rode other people's stuff, but I wanted my own horse. And so my dad bought me a filly, and I didn't know at the time that she wasn't broke. I just thought I couldn't ride. So he taught me to ride and broke my filly at the same time. So I wasn't sure if he was trying to kill me or just, inspire me. But I got yeah, probably. And so, but no, I had her name was Star, because her name was Star. And great. She was my best friend. Like as an only child, I had my dog and my horse, and we went everywhere and did everything. I eventually learned to stay on, i.e. she grew up. And so by the time she was about 2.5, almost 3, we were a force, and we showed and competed, and I could do whatever with her. She was my let's run off the bank and jump into the pond kind of horse, or if I want to go fishing, and I could just sit there and she was whatever. Endurance, obstacles, she didn't care. So yeah, that was my first horse. I was still 10 years old.
Oh, it's probably because y'all had so much time and growing together. Like, I'm pretty sure she trusted you and you trusted her by that.
Whatever, like she was my buddy, like from 10 to she passed, and that was, I had her for well over 10 years or so. Yeah, she was me and her. And so even when I got what I would call more higher priced mounts or more prestigious horses to show, none of them taught me what she taught me. None of them. I had some really strong bonds with my horses, but when it's your first, how it's just, that was your first horse. And
everybody remembers the first time.
Yeah, it's first horse, first blue ribbon, like all of those things. So all of my memories like that are tied to her. And in retrospect, she really was way more capable than I think I gave her credit for, because she could show on an open circuit, on a sanctioned circuit, on a 4-H circuit, and do fine in all. Very few horses are good across platforms like that, but she really didn't care. If we put her on the trailer, she went, and she never questioned what I asked her to do. It was just, she went. So I'm very appreciative of her now, given what I know about more horses. So yeah, she was a good one.
Yeah. So where did you say you were from?
Alabama. I'm born and raised in Alabama, went to the UA. I grew up in a town called Tuscaloosa. So, yeah, and like I said, everyone in our sphere rode. There's farm country, so it's like, even if you didn't compete, you sort of had horses. Right. So that's something that I will say I took for granted until I grew up and moved away and realized that it's not as easy to just have horses when you don't live in a place that's conducive to it like that. So yeah, being in Jersey has made me appreciate being able to get back to the South.
Yeah. Were they competing too?
Yeah, yeah, I knew a lot, and even some of them eventually became my customers when I turned pro. Yeah, everybody, our weekend thing was going to a horse show. So, you would see people you saw during the week. We're all in some random city showing horses almost every other weekend. So, yeah, it was a fairly competitive town. And like I said earlier, I guess I didn't realize that there was a world where that was not the norm. And so when all of my childhood friends or my dad's buddies or moms or whatever, we all had horses. So yeah.
Mhm. So you slid that in there when I turned pro. Let's talk
Let's
about
talk
your journey
about that.
there. What made you decide? Because I know there's a big conversation around amateur versus pro with USEF and all their rules and yada yada yada. We don't have to go that nitty gritty, but I just want to hear how you made that
But how did
kind
I
of
get
decision.
there? You get out of college or you're ending your college career and you realize I have to get a job. I majored in speech communication and theater. So I grew up, I showed amateur youth all up until I was 17, competed amateur as well, but I showed in that division. And mentally, I always knew I would show horses. I just knew I needed to get a job to be able to pay for them. So as I was nearing my end of college, I still competed all through college. So I did manage, even if I worked as a stable hand, or my parents were like, we'll pay for school. We won't pay for your horses in training and school. So I took on a job working at a training stable just to be able to keep my horses and keep active. I knew I needed to do something. And so right after a competition, a gentleman approached me and asked me, had I considered turning pro? And I hadn't considered turning pro. It was not but I thought, well, he's offering me a relocation package, a salary. So I turned pro. It was literally a snap decision of, I'm done with school. He offered me a job. It literally was a snap decision. So it wasn't a lot of contemplation. It was, you're going to pay me to do what I was going to have to pay someone to do for me. Great. So that's kind of how, and it just, I didn't know what trajectory it would take me. I just ran with it. And I moved to Texas, became a horse trainer, and yeah, the next 15 years.
So let's bring that back. So did you know this man? Was this,
no, he was,
did he just
literally
see you competing?
Yeah, he was a competitor. He was actually someone we had just beat in competition. And that's pretty much how my professional career as a horse trainer went. I literally was scalped each time over the course of years from someone I had just beat. And I finished the competition. And at the competition, the guy asked me, was I interested in turning professional? And I was like, hadn't thought about it. And he says, think about it. And he says, this is what I can offer. If you're interested, be at this competition on this day, and I'll relocate you to Texas. And he did. And best decision I made. He was a great mentor, probably one of the hardest working people that I knew, because it was just the two of us and we had like 50 horses.
Wow.
And so we had one assistant, me and him, and I learned a lot about managing my own program. I learned a lot about how to, we'll talk about like the question, do you ever have mares? Do you find mares to be easier than geldings?
Yeah.
Well, my entire string was mares. I had 11 fillies from age 2 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn, what it taught me was that every horse is different. You only get in trouble when you think there's a cookie cutter method. And so each mare I had to approach differently. And they were all phenomenal. I ended up winning my first world championship with one of those fillies. And so the appreciation that it gave to me for horse training was that I can't bring whatever baggage I had from the last horse to the next horse.
Right.
I have to, she does not care that I had a bad ride 5 minutes ago. I need to pull it together and be in control of the situation and myself more so, and give her the credence to be whatever she is that moment, to be that. And so I think it helped me a lot because I don't try to shoehorn horses into one frame.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that, that definitely impacted how I train. And, when that's what you got, I was 19. Yeah, I was 19. So it's kind of like, I could complain that, and I really didn't know. All of my first horses were mares. So I didn't really know that there was a stigma about having mares or over geldings. My first horse was a mare. My second horse was a mare. So, it didn't really make any difference to me.
Yeah, I didn't know either because I had all mares. And people, that mare stare and all that stuff. But you had started touching on things that leads into our next question.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest challenges you face with horses, and what did you learn from it?
My mentor, my first trainer, was probably my strongest influence as a understanding horses. And what I found as a challenge, he says, a good horse will make a bad trainer look real good, but it takes a great trainer to make a bad horse look decent. And so it taught me that expecting it to be easy or expecting it to be done for me would be my downfall as a trainer if I didn't understand that it's work on my part. If I'm expecting them to work, it's got to be work on my part too. So for challenges, I think it wasn't in my early career, but when I moved to, like, I would say the next level or the top level where I finished my training career, I moved to a barn that had its star trainer. There were 10 of us. There was star trainer plus all of the secondary trainers, and we had 100 horses. It was very odd watching horses not be given a chance. Like, we had a 3-month, if you didn't go from 0 to show ready in 3 months, you were gone. So it was a program. It was a successful program. It was a very particular program. Mm-hmm. And so the challenge to me was staying in my lane when I knew this horse can get ready in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. All horses aren't like that. It didn't mean the horse was bad. It just, they weren't going to turn the corner like that. So it was hard watching horses that I knew probably would be great, watch them get churned out of a mill that hopefully the next person that got them took the time. That was hard to stomach. For me though, I'm like, I like the quirky ones. I like them when they have a story of their own. So I can appreciate it, when my current mare has personality in spades, and I like her for that reason. And when I moved her, I just relocated her training. I was very particular about where I put her because I didn't want them to hamper that spirit, and I didn't want them to try to beat it out of her or whatever. Because she, like I said, she's a ham. She is, but she delivers when it's showtime. Like, when you get to the show and it's ready to go, she's always game. And so if that means that she's odd and the cross ties are stalled, that's fine. I don't bother her in the stall. Do your thing. So yeah, I think that was the hardest obstacle, watching what I would call probably great horses get missed.
Right. I wanted to go back to, you mentioned that you majored in what in school? Theater and communication. I wanted to be, my dream was to be a lobbyist for the horse industry. That was what I thought I was going to do. And for the walking horse in particular. And so I majored in speech communication, minored in theater because I'm sort of theatrical. And so it was, that was the goal. And at the same time, I made peace with the fact that I wasn't saying, I don't want to say I didn't think I would ever use it, but I was fine if I knew I didn't use my degree for my career. I didn't pursue the career. I didn't pursue the degree thinking it was a career. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know we have a lot of like college students that listen. So I just wanted to highlight that fact that, it's not
It'll
what
look
you
different.
expected. Yeah.
You will get the education for yourself. My father's phrase was, with a trade, I get paid. A degree, I do for me. And he said, so find something that you can do. Figure out, it doesn't matter what it is that you can do that's a skill or something that you will always be able to get paid if you have something that you can do. And he says, now get a degree. He said, by all means, get it. Use it to enrich your life. There are things that you learn from going to college that have nothing to do with that piece of paper.
Yeah.
But so go. So I definitely encourage that. But also don't feel trapped into, I spent this money to go to college. I've got to pursue this path. And if I don't, I fail. No, don't get, no. It's just, yeah. You'll take a lot of turns along the way.
Do you think that your degree, or at least having that little bit of professional education, has helped you in your entrepreneurship side of things?
The degree, no. Going to college, I went to the University of Alabama. Navigating the University of Alabama as a Black student taught me a lot of systems. It taught me how I am, where I am viewed in systems, how to navigate those systems. So I think it definitely taught me about life. It taught me how to be autonomous in my choices, but very aware of how that reads on a bigger scale. So yeah, I think if I didn't go to college, there were some lessons that I would have had to learn that might have cost me more, or been could have been more detrimental. In college, we're all floundering our way through. And so having gone, I think, yeah, it's good. The degree, yeah, don't get hung up on the piece of paper. It could be in anything. Like I knew I wanted to go be a student that went to the University of Alabama. That I knew, primarily because, my mom went there and the degree with the tuition was cheaper. But also that what the piece of paper was, didn't define me.
Right.
Yeah.
But get it. If you can get it. If you find another path, I encourage both. But the going to college was more important than in what particular field.
Yeah, because there are quite a few adults, who are surprised when life really hits them and they have these interactions that they never had. And through college, we do get those experiences.
Yeah, I think it's use each stage for preparation for the next stage. And I think that's very trite to say to some degree, but it's very, very important, because where you are now is never where you're going to end up. It just happens to be where you are now. And so appreciate it, live in it, own it. But you also don't get to determine where you go, because if you'd asked me at any point in my past, would I live in New Jersey, I hadn't even thought about it. Jersey was never on my map, but here I am, and I've been there 10 years. Did I think I would be a chocolatier? No, that's not anywhere between school and horses and theater and all of those things. No, being a chocolatier was not it, but here I am. And it allows me to do the things that I love. So say yes to life. I tell people that's a easy, when the guy asked me, did I want to become a professional trainer? Wasn't thinking about that. But I'm like, hey, I'm glad I did. And so I hope people enjoy the moment. Don't stress.
Yeah.
You'll get through it. It might not look anything like you think it'll look, but you'll get through it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yes.
Our next question is, what is a common misconception people have about your discipline?
That it's artificial. Tennessee walking horses and the breed, the misconception in general is that our horses are manufactured. Our horses are genetically designed not to trot. They also don't rack. They have a bilateral gait. It is very rhythmically based. People talk about saddlebreds and walking horses and saddle seat in general, but walking horses in particular were designed to traverse plantations. So their gait allows them to not step on crops. their gait allows them to be smooth riding over thousands of acres. Because if I had to post that, I'm not riding that all day. I'm just not doing it. And then if you have a diagonal gait, every 2 steps, you're going to step on the crops in the middle. So our breed is designed genetically to make it easy to traverse long distances comfortably. And that's why I ride it. We get a lot of bad press for things that have happened in the past. And I mean, I don't deny those things. There's unscrupulous people in everything. Yeah. But I love the breed. I love training them. I love showing them. And our horses are very addictive. Our Breeders Association used to have a motto a while back that said, if you ride one today, you'll own one tomorrow. And that was true. And that was because it's a very forgiving horse, thankfully. I think it has the aspects of show horses with the personality of pleasure horses. The gait is so fun to ride. So all ages, whether you're 5, we have kids competing on performance horses as young as 6. The oldest winning world champion was 95. So you can show them throughout your life.
That is the truth.
She's the one with the walking horse.
Yeah. I'm not gonna hop on my walking horse soapbox today because this is about Robert.
I as well. But
I've ridden. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I've ridden most breeds. I'm a horse person, so I have ridden, and I can appreciate all the different things. But I can say that having ridden most breeds, I'll come back to a walking horse every time. I just, when I want to enjoy it, they're just different. Their behavior, their personality, their temperament, it's all just very different.
I want to kind of switch gears for a little bit to talk about your entrepreneurship journey. Robert was in my goal setting
very helpful,
session
very
that
helpful.
we did. Huh?
It was very helpful. I tell everybody, take your goal setting.
Yeah, and that was super, super cool. I think that was my second time doing it, but the first time I did it just with like friends and close people. But how did you go from college to horse trainer to chocolatier? And is there anything else in the middle there?
A lot. There was a lot in the middle. When in 2005, we had pretty much won in our division, our breed. We'd won the World Grand Championship. We'd won everything that you could win as a barn. And I thought, well, what next? I mean, we literally had won every divisional world championship possible, as well as the top one. And so I thought, I need to be looking at what else. I said, because eventually it will be, every dog has his day. So I'm like, we're on top now. We've won the last 7-8 years consistently. And I said, it's going to be someone else's turn. It didn't matter whether I was still good or competitive. We had been that way and at the top of the industry for almost 10 years. And I said, it's going to be someone else's turn. So I wanted to leave that region and area on a high note. So right after that, I went to Chicago, which is why I have a 312 number. I went to Chicago and I was in hospitality management. I managed spas and salons. I ended up becoming a headhunter for a corporation. So I found execs, I was in Chicago 4 years. And I realized I'm not designed to work for anybody. I realized working a corporate gig in Chicago that I'm not cut out for that life. So I came home, spent about a year regrouping, and decided I'm going to go open up a training stable somewhere other than the Southeast, because the Southeast is saturated with walking horses and walking horse professionals. I believed in the breed and I wanted to go somewhere that there was not a lot of walking horses or not a lot of professionals to talk about it, so I could provide some sort of education. And it was between Idaho, kind of California, Idaho area, and the Northeast. And the decision was basically, I can drive home to Alabama in a day from up here than I can from California. That was pretty much how it was. No, and so I moved to New Jersey. I'm gonna open a training barn. It's gonna be the thing. I'm a fairly competent trainer, blah, blah, blah. And I tanked. Well, no, I can't say I tanked. It was a non-starter. The farm that I signed the lease on, I couldn't take possession of because the person refused to leave. I hit all these roadblocks and I was like, something's telling me not to train horses here. Because it wasn't that there weren't opportunities, it was just not happening. And the industry was changing politically on a national scale. And I had to make the decision that I needed to eat and I had a life to live. And so I stopped. I had enough in savings to kind of sit for a while. I said, let me recalibrate. And so I went back to business consulting, which is kind of what I finished in Chicago doing. And a family friend was a chocolate maker. And he asked about business. He asked me, could I help him with business? I said, if you teach me about chocolate. And that was just a thing. I wanted to be able to make something fancy for Christmas so people would be like, ooh, whoever made this. And he decided to get out of the business. I still hadn't found what I was going to do. And I had written a business plan for him in passing that he passed on. And I thought, well, it's sitting on my desk. I have a chocolate business plan that I wrote. Let's try it. And that's literally how the business started. I wasn't sure. I had no idea. I mean, I never made chocolate for work or anything. I made stuff at home, but I did know that I was good at business. Business was my strong suit. And so I took the business plan that I wrote for this guy, and 7 years later, here we are. So.
Wow, you just
hop
on these opportunities.
Yeah,
I'm very much. I believe in doing something I'm passionate about, and I the reason chocolate, of all the business plans and proposals that I wrote, horses make me smile, and I wanted to do something as a career that also I enjoyed or made me smile. I was not going to go into something just because it made money, because I did that in Chicago and I hated it. Probably the most high-paying job I've ever had was while I was in Chicago. And I quit and stormed out and threw my phone away and broke my laptop. It was that kind of, But I said, there was an opportunity in front of me, take it. Where will it go? Who knows? But I can say I didn't think I would be doing it 7 years later. But I'm glad that I took it because that's kind of what affords me to still keep playing horses after all these years. So, yeah.
You said something. I just keep running back on things that you said. I'm like just grabbing onto words. You said something that really stood out to me when you were going to pursue your horse training journey in the Northeast. You said that you looked for a place that you could provide value, you could provide education, even if there weren't people already there doing it. And I think that is so important, not only as just a person who, wants to pursue horses, but as a business person, taking that having that mindset to think like it's okay to be the only one, that you can provide value. So
I think a lot of what happened to our industry and what's hurting us right now is everyone moved to Middle Tennessee. Everyone is in like a 20-mile radius. All of your top barns in the industry, I can walk to or drive to in an hour. Mm-hmm. Well, we have regions. There's a huge continental US where there are people that, horses resonate differently. Everyone isn't world-class level competitors, which is what's primarily here in Middle Tennessee. but maybe, you know, the two-parent household that wants to provide their kid loves a pony, they want to see it every week. You know, most of my customers when I was in Tennessee lived in other countries and other states, so they never came in unless it was a show season. But that's not everybody's approach to horses. And I remember my thing was when I got out of school every day, I went to the barn. My parents got off work. We went to the barn. My friends got off. There was a huge community stable where we all had different stalls in. It was our social hour. It was our evening activity. It was then where are we going this weekend? So I thought that's why I do horses, not because I got to the level where we were world champions. It was because I got to do it every day and it was part of my life. And so I felt if the trainers, while they were complaining that there's not enough owners or there's a smaller pool to pull from, I said, no, you're just all sitting in the same pot. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere and cultivate new people. Don't just keep wondering where the people who are second and third generation horse people. Go bring new people in. But you kind of got to go where they are. They're not gonna, if you're in Wyoming, why would you have a horse in Tennessee and train it? You know, you just wouldn't. How does your kid practice if the horse is in Tennessee?
Right.
So I had this huge talk. I was on the trainers committee. I was in the trainers association, and I remember listening to these lamentations. And I said, well, I can't expect them to go somewhere else if I'm not willing to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that changes the expectations of horse owners, because a lot of people say that also. They're like, oh, you know, so-and-so boarded their horse here and they never come to see them.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if we sometimes we have to be the ones to take a change ourselves.
It's our profession. Yeah.
Yeah, to get that, to change the expectations, because we're the ones running it.
We've committed to this being our thing. So I have to be willing to look outside of my scope. And I, even when I decided to go out on my own, everyone said, oh, you're going to open a barn, you know, here. And I said, why would I open a barn down the road from the barn that I just spent the last 10 years helping build? That made no sense to me. And why would it's like market share from an entrepreneurial perspective. I encourage understanding your market, but I always tell people be very leery of market data in the context of if you're going to start a business or not. And here's why. If you're looking at numbers and sales and units moved and all of this data, if you pick an industry, I don't care what it is, if you're looking at numbers, what you're really looking at is someone else's business. You're looking at someone else's customer. So it isn't about creating a new product. You can be this best, but not only do I have to create a new product or service, I've got to convince you to leave where you are. If I'm looking at data, if I'm looking at someone else's data, I've got to not only be good at what I say I am and market it, I've got to convince you to leave. So that's a whole other obstacle. That's a whole other kind of fish. So when I go to new places, there is no data. If there are no owners, if there are no professional trainers where I am, and there weren't, in like a 7-county, almost 8-county radius, there was no one else that did what I did. There is no data. So it's fresh. It's an opportunity to educate people who either are ignorant of or have only had secondary information. And so to me, that's exciting because I'm starting from ground zero and not in a hole. And I think it's easy to get caught up in researching other people's stuff and what's worked for someone else. But you got to figure out what works for you.
Amen.
I love it.
All of it. Our next question: what vision do you have for your future in this discipline?
I want to get more. I want to still compete. I have a personal goal to place whether it's, I'm gonna be honest, I want to win a world championship as an amateur
Mhm.
because in the entire history of my breed, as a riding performance horses, there's never been a Black person to win a world championship in the amateur division. Pleasure, yes, there's been well, not even amateur, there've been some professionals that have won pleasure championships. There's only been one professional to win a performance, and that was in 1984. I have trained horses and put other people on horses that have won numerous world championships. I've done it time and again. So I know I can train a world champion. That's not my question at all. But I want, under my ownership, with my little face, to win a world championship. That's what I would like to do. Whether that happens or not, I want to create a space and opportunity for other youth who didn't have the benefit of their dad being a horse trainer, people of color, Black in particular, that, you know, hey, come ride. If I've got 2 horses, like I can't ride them all the time. I have no problem getting someone in that wants to ride. And so that it's less, I think it's easy to say that it's a financial barrier, which horses are expensive, but that's not why we're not prevalent in the industry, because we spend money on a lot of things. Right. But I do know that opportunity and exposure are very important. And so the same tactics that I use to promote my business and all of those things, if I can get to a place where I have, and you don't try to get too big too fast. If I have 5 horses in training where I'm like, you know what, let's create a plan of action for you. And I'll probably be calling you, Abriana, to say, hey, we're going to campaign for this. I want, you know, Susie needs a pony. You pair well with this one. Let's go. And be able to support that journey. You know, acquiring a competitive horse is a hard thing to do. So yeah, the parents are going to be doing what they can to support it, but I also know that if I've got the horse, I've got the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if I can have a few of those where I can use the stuff that I've used for my clients, I've done it for the other people, why can't I do it for us? So I would like to, as an owner, make showing horses more accessible to people that look like us, and connect with the trainers. I have the history of being a trainer, so I know when something doesn't sound right. I know when something doesn't look right. But take it from an owner perspective of, if I can provide a resource, access to insider secrets or trades that new people in the industry of any walk of life are not afforded. If I can help us get there, that's what I want to do. I mean, I have no problem saying, hey, when you come, even you guys, come down, ride. Let's go to a horse show. This is what it's like. So that A, you're not by yourself in a very strange land, but B, that you can get immersed in something and actually enjoy it, whether it be as a spectator or a competitor. And so I'm that passionate about my breed of horse. I'm also that passionate about how riding and having horses in my life has benefited me. And I think if we remove the barrier that it's automatically, oh, horses are too expensive for me to have, so I'm not going to consider that. If we remove that, or even show that, hey, there's 3 of us on this call, 3 brown faces, that makes a world of difference to that one kid that shows up and doesn't see anybody, because we are used to being the only person in the room.
Right.
We know what that's like. And not that it would stop us, but I know it would be very different. My dad was a trainer. My first trainer was also Black. And I'm well aware that, you know, from youth to adulthood, I had Black horse trainers. So that definitely prepared me for how do I navigate a fairly non-Black professional environment. So yeah, I think if I can share that, that's my goal, to make it more accessible to people like us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I know when I did my one little breed show, like I didn't know
It's like there's so much going on.
I knew nothing, and it was a 2-year-old, so it's not like we had to achieve much of anything. I didn't have a flat walk and a running walk. We had one speed. Like
we were going. We were going.
My goal was not to die.
Yeah,
that was it.
I made it in the ring, and I made it out of the ring. We're good. And that was the thing, like knowing that and having someone that you can either ask, because again, it's competition. So unless you have a network already, no one's gonna really tell you how to beat them.
Right.
Right. I will never forget, I was 9. And I'm used to showing at breed shows. So I showed at this it was an open show, and they had it was a yearling class. It was like a lead, it was a yearling halter class. Mm-hmm. And their method of showing halter at this open show was very different than we do in breed shows. So I remember walking up to this guy and I asked him, I said, so what are we supposed to do? And the first one ignored me. The second one, well, I'm good at this. He flat out said, I'm good at this. I usually win this class. You can watch what I do. And maybe you'll learn something. And I was like, okay. Anyway, it was one of those things. And so, but what I did is I said, well, don't be the first person in the ring, because you had to go in one at a time. Like, it was literally, they judged you individually and then they judged you collectively. So I was like, okay. So I wasn't the first one, I wasn't the last. I was something like the 5th horse into the ring, and they had to like walk in, park, gate off, park, out, and do all this. So I'm like, okay, so I knew my horse could park, fine. I had practiced all of that. I wasn't really familiar with standing and then gating from a dead stop, because that's not how and like you said, we got one gear. So anyway, long story short, I just did what I watched other guys doing, and I won the class. Yeah, let me tell you, they weren't real happy about that. but
I watched what you did.
Yeah, I won. And exactly. I won that was my first blue ribbon ever. And it was the one time I didn't know what the heck was going on, but I knew I'm competitive enough to know, I'm going to watch what they do. Mm-hmm. I'll see. And that guy retired, never showed that horse again. The guy that told me that he always wins that class. And I knew him. He was in so the reason I asked him, he was in Tuscaloosa. We had a place called the Tuscaloosa Riding Club, and it was pretty much all gated horses. We had some quarter horses, but it was like 100 stalls. So it was like people, you rent your 10, your 5, whatever. And I knew him from the facility, so I thought, he's down the hall, I'll ask, And yeah, he never showed that horse again. Never showed her again. And I thought, I beat you one time. Because he was high point, he had shown it. Yeah. I was like, it was my first time out, and I beat you one time, and you put this horse up and don't show her again. I see. But I was hooked. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And to me, that's why I know being a resource. There's things, whether it's just both textbook knowledge or experience knowledge, or it is more than just having a horse intact. Mm-hmm. And if you can have someone that sincerely wants you to succeed, I have won and been high point and in multiple divisions. I have accomplished all but one. And actually, I don't want to say that. I've accomplished all of my life goals with horses. I wanted to win. I wanted to train a world champion in racking horses, because that's what my dad trained. Mm-hmm. And he'd won world championships. They'd never won a set of roads. They'd never won a world grand championship of horses that he had trained. And he died before that happened. And so one of my personal goals was to do that. Mm-hmm. And I accomplished that in 2011. And so another, a story that ended well that didn't necessarily start well. So after that, when I went to I was on cloud nine. I got my new horse, and I'm going to go. I told my parents, we're going to the international. We're going to the international championships. I ain't show but one time, but we going to international. So I'm like, okay. And my parents humored me for whatever reason. So I needed a tag stall. I told them I had to have a tag stall and my horse stall.
I have a halter horse. We ain't even riding, but I have a halter horse. I'm like, I need a tack stall. I need all this stuff. I was 12 maybe. And I had practiced. This horse was great. We had won this one show. And I get to the show and had a great show. My horse worked perfectly. And I was standing on the rail and this man walks up to the rail. He says, you have probably one of the best horses in here. But the best thing I could have told you is if you could swap colors with your horse, because it was a spot. I had a spotted horse. And he says, if you could swap colors with your horse, you'd win this class.
Someone else has said that same exact thing. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But we need to round them people up and tell them to stop saying this.
Thank you. And I was sitting there. I was
Wow.
like, I'm 12 years old. And I had my horse was gorgeous. He was white and brown with blue eyes. And this guy flat out told me that. He was like, you got one of the best horses in the ring. So they're not going to tie you. And they did. I got dead last.
Because you black.
Yeah, but I told that man that day, I said, I'm gonna win this show. I'm gonna win this show. And before it was said and done, I won that show. I was undefeated 3 years running in 2 different divisions at that show. Now I was 20, I think it was about 28, 29 when this happened. But yeah, I went back, I said, I know how to do this. And I ended up winning the International Grand Championship. 1 year I showed 3 times and won all 3 times. I accomplished that goal. But I know that if I can create a space that another one of our Black youth doesn't have to hear that, then I've done my job. If I can create a space where, you know what, you can show whether you want to show a spotted horse or a solid colored horse or whatever you want to show, you're going to be a force to reckon with because you're going to be well prepared. And you have a team of people behind you that see your abilities, not your skin. And so that is,
that will also kick somebody's butt.
Oh, totally. We're going to win. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't show, it takes just as much money to feed a bad.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Because I really hearing those stories and it's like somebody was with y'all so that he could react for you. Because I know in the moment.
No, I was in the ring. I was literally in the middle of the ring.
Wow.
No, my parents were in the stands and I was literally in the ring, but he came up to the ring. Like I was in the middle of the show as I'm showing to tell me this. And I was like, yeah. And so, but I knew then, and of course, I told my parents when I got out, okay, this just happened. And so, and of course they handled the situation, but I know that we were in a very, I was in a unique position that, I was lucky enough to have 2 parents that actively supported me being a horse person. And my dad was knowledgeable enough to have me with good horses. And it didn't cost an arm and a leg because, well, he could train them himself. So I understand the level of privilege I had in that upbringing. So if I can at least share that with someone, if I can say, hey, this is, this is what I can tell you from experience, not theory, not hope, but from experience.
Yes.
So so that is my goal. Yeah.
I'm all for that. All of it. Because I really do, like, you're older than Ariana, and both of y'all have been told that. Like, when does it stop? I would like for us to be able to just go to a show or a trail ride.
Oh, I don't see it stopping. Yeah. I hate to say it that way. I don't see it stopping. What has to happen is the main reason I'm still respected in the industry is that I beat them. People come to me because I beat them. I am a Black gay man and a walking horse, a Southern institution. Okay, I am well aware of the comments and I don't care. I don't. You're gonna have to deal with me in the ring, whether you like it or not. And so you can have your opinions about me as a person, but my horses speak for themselves. And so I don't worry about when they stop saying things because they will always have something to say. What I do want is that to have raised and instilled in the youth that are around me and even the other adults that it matters not what they say. Of course, check them. Don't let that slide, but also don't let it impact you in such a fashion that it gets you either off your game or makes you feel some type of way because they have an opinion. Who are they to have an opinion? We're here to show horses. And if you were really, if you can come talk to me about how you know, the horses, that's one thing. But if all you can see right now is my face or my skin tone, I've already got you.
Right.
Because you're too busy looking at the wrong thing. And so that's why I don't waste my breath worrying about when they stop doing those things. But like I said, we will be there to beat you. And I want to be a environment that the children that I put in the ring can look at that person and keep on walking. Don't even receive that in your spirit, because it can get you off your game. But I think that because on a bigger scale, on a more, you know, a universal scale, I'm going to get my phone charger. Hopefully I don't lose you guys. On a bigger scale, the thing is, these are world issues that we deal with on a very specialized, on a very microcosmic scale. It's fairly intense because we are in horses, and because there's a level of affluence that is incurred. But we can, you know, I'm not waiting on people to act right. I'm just gonna do what I came to do. So
Yeah. I feel you on that for sure.
Yeah.
You have given like so many gems. I've been writing down like timestamps so that I can remember to go back and get some sound bites. But if you had, you know, a word of advice to give aspiring equestrians, what would you say?
Learn your craft. I don't care what it is. I don't care what discipline it is. The reason I was able to win when I went back into that show, I could tell you the rule books in and out. And I learned, if I got to beat you on a technicality, I will beat you on a technicality. And because at the end of the day, a win is a win. What I learned, though, was it taught me to know my discipline inside and out. It taught me, I want to tell people, be committed to your craft, because you can always go back to that.
Right.
It's very easy to get caught up in the blue ribbons and the spectacle. We love the spectacle, it's a show, but it's the work. As a theater person, you know, I took dance and ballet, and you always go back to the bar. You go back to and you work on knowing your thing. And so I said, find something that makes you happy, because you're going to be in it for a while. So if it's saddle seat or driving or eventing, whatever your thing happens to be, know it, learn it, observe, look at who's winning, look at who's not winning, look at what are some common denominators. It may be something as simple as, are they wearing purple all the time? You know, something random, like what are you seeing? What are the patterns you're seeing? If a young person in this discipline or in this industry, learn and be committed to your craft. Because when everything else falls apart, you can always go back to your technique. The horses are the horses. I love the horses, and my horse doesn't care what color I am as long as I feed him on time. So, you know, they don't really care. Stick to that. Stick to the core of why you started.
That's good. That's good. So we, you know, always have this conversation about cowboy versus equestrian. And as someone who's from the South, what did your dad refer to himself as? Oh, I guess it was just horse trainer, right?
Yeah, my dad was a horse trainer, but we were cowboys. I mean, I am actually total tangentially. While I was in Illinois, I was named Mr. Gay Rodeo for 2010. And so I actively, you know, I've ridden barrels. I've done the whole thing. I'm fine being a cowboy. I don't have issues with the words. Because I know who I am. I also respect the fact that we were cowboys. That's what we did. And as a culture, that was one of the first opportunities to escape slavery, was being willing to risk your life being a cowboy going west.
Right.
My horse is named in the honor of one of the first Black women to do so, and that's why she's Stagecoach Mary.
Yeah.
And if you go read about her and her getting the first Black woman to get a postal route, and the tenacity in which she lived life, and it's very much that is very much my mare, and so she's a handful. She doesn't care, and she can hang with the studs, with the best of them, and so. I want there's a purpose. That's why her name is that. And that is why it's important, because if nothing else, someone's going to hear that and go look that up. And I want them to know that story. I want them to know that, yeah, we are, but am I a cowboy? Sure. But I'm fine saying equestrian. That's so fancy now. but honestly, I ride horses and however, that's what I do.
Yeah. Caitlin has a Stagecoach Mary book that she reads a lot with Saddle Up and Read. So we know all about suits and shooting up the
whiskey and her
people trying to rob her and stuff.
Yeah, she's ready. And that's why, so to me, that's completely funny that my mare turned white. She was solid Black when she was born. But she's like white now. But no, that is totally why. We have some amazing stories that I refuse to get lost because of semantics. We evolve for various reasons in various places. And the fact that the success is in the fact that we are here and we did evolve. But we did do some amazing things then.
I agree with you completely. I ride horses. Like I don't care about labels either way, but I love to hear people's responses, especially when you come from the South and then you kind of enter a atmosphere where people are just a little bit more
a very European discipline. Which is very, and it's easy. It's very interesting when I see, there are a couple of guys that I used to work with who are still active in profession. Evolution is important. I think it is easy everybody isn't meant to be a horse trainer. There are so many ways you can be at the top of your field in your particular area. Like to me, I think I was a far better show presenter and groom and specialist. I can train very, very well, but I think preparing teams for competition was my strength, more so than just showing as a trainer. And so it's easy to get caught up thinking you have to do what the next person does, or you have to be the lead this or that for you to be considered successful. I'm like, no, find your thing, find your spot that makes you shine, and find what makes your heart happy, and do that. It doesn't matter, we need all areas. We need to be represented in all aspects. There needs to be phenomenal breeders, phenomenal trainers, phenomenal owners. And that's I realize the latter is a little harder for us as a culture, just because we're historically not included in that list. We talk plenty of times the Derby winners, the first set of Derby winners, of course, they were Black men. I get that. We don't talk often a lot about Black owners. And so if that's a space I can occupy because I'm selling chocolate left and right, fine. if that's the method that I choose to get there, I am totally fine. Again, I used to be great at breaking codes. I'm not riding a coat. I don't want to see nothing that's 2 years old. But that used to be my thing. I have a 3-year-old now. I told the guy, I'm like, if he's not ready to his 4-year-old, we're good, we're fine. Just keep working with him. It's okay. But I know that if I'm able to then provide both the knowledge that I have up to this point and the benefits of being a professional in another field that allows me to be a solid owner, or an example as a good owner. There are things, we're learning. We're always learning along the way. So yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't need to be on the backs all the time, because we're more than just riders. Right. We're more than just grooms. we're so many things. There's supportive industry. I think about main trusses a lot. I think about a lot of the other. There are many ways that you can be a professional, successful in the horse industry that doesn't require wear and tear on your body, or being someone's groom.
Right.
Yeah.
Preach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Preach.
So, you know, we need all of those things. We need to be able to rely on ourselves and support ourselves by turning to others that happen to look like us that do those things. You know, there's nothing, we don't have a plethora of Black farriers anymore. Actually, I don't know any right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is a skill. That is a labor intensive skill, but it is a billable skill. You know, learn it. It is suitable for someone, not everyone, but for someone.
Right.
You know, breeding. I've been in the industry, and I think my bias comes from my dad being like, Robert, there's a new one born every day.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, you can keep one. Don't get addicted to collecting. You can keep one, but remember, there's a new one born every day. So I have no desire to be on the breeding side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I have been. I know how it works. Give them to me when I can do something, because you're looking at 3-4 years before from the start time you decide you want to breed something, you're going to get a minimum 3 years before you can do a thing. And that's if you ride
so
a
many
walking
things
horse.
can happen
In 3 years. You know, my business is only 7 years old. I've done a lot of things in that window of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want something that I can do something with. So personally, I would rather be an owner than a breeder. I have no desire to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my dear friends and someone who's in the group, Jeremy Bridges, is a breeder, and his aspirations is to be a reputable breeder of quality show horses. So I encourage that. I got to get my horse from somewhere, but I don't need to be the one doing it. And I would much rather say I can turn to someone who I know and respect, who just happens to be in the Young Black Equestrians, and buy a horse from. I can support. I got to spend that money somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would rather do that. Yeah, I think if we can do it that way. But I really, something I want to do, and this is just my personal wish for the group, I would love for us to do, as post-COVID permits and whatnot, if we have opportunities to meet up and go to shows as a unit.
Yes.
Just say, you know, whether it's a world show or something like that, where you go, this is my breed at its pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
Come, you know, I got tickets, we got whatever, just come. And let's experience this. Just because you and I both know that if 10 of us show up, if 10 of these faces show up,
woo, they're gonna be sweating.
See what I mean? And so it's gonna make a difference, period. They're gonna notice us anyway. But and 10 of us show up who are knowledgeable horse people, who are not dusted from trying to get someone else's other horse ready to go. Mm-hmm. There's an image thing, that there's a psychological trigger when we show up looking as fly as we can look to enjoy a horse show.
Yeah.
Enjoy, just come and enjoy the show. The person, whoever's breed it is or collective breed it is, yeah, let's talk about that. Ask questions. Let's go look at a breeding stable. Let's go look at the show barn. Hop on this horse and ride. It's an outing. Mm-hmm. And then, you know what? The next time we learn about reining finals, or we learn about the Morgan Grand National, or, you know, let's get us some derby hats. I need a derby hat. Let's go, you know, and
yes.
and there's nothing wrong. Sometimes showing up, it's a lot cheaper, but it makes a whole heck of a lot of impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does. It just, you know, and there is strength in numbers, and there is being able to enjoy something, you know, openly that you're interested in, and have people around you who respect you, who value you, and who also have similar interests, you know. And I think there is nothing wrong, you know, a year of us making the circuit, hitting all the shows, that's a newsletter in itself. Just like, oh, well, they were here and they were there, and you know, keep flyers in your back pocket, because there's gonna be some Black kids here wanting to know, this is what we look like when we get a little older. This is what we look like. You know, there is a future for you in this.
Right.
And if nothing else, and again, I'm off, these are my pipe dreams, but I would like that. I think that could happen. And I don't think it's unreasonable. And I also think, hey, if, you know,
I don't know how many are in our group, and say, look, it's $10. This is something we need to buy a page in their program, just so they have to look at the fact that, you know what, there's young Black equestrians represent that it exists. Somebody somewhere is going to open that and see that, you know. And so I think that's important. Those are the little things that have far-reaching effects that I think it's easy to think, oh, I've got to buy a horse, I've got to be paid for training, I've got to haul to a show, I've got to do all of these things, I've got to be a winner to be impactful. No, you don't. Just show up.
Right.
Just show up. Yeah.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
I hope I'm not boring you guys. I'm just like, these are things that I love. These are my passions.
No,
So.
we have very similar visions. Corona kind of threw
everybody well
out of whack, but you know,
But these are things. Yeah, I think these are doable things. I think,
we all here. So
let's
get into the Derby round. So the Derby round is where we ask questions and you choose one or the other. First thing that comes to your mind.
Comes to mind. Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Caitlin, did you want to do the Derby round?
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. So yeah, first thing that comes to your mind, just say what you're gonna go with. English or Western?
English.
Solids or spots?
Solids.
Bays or grays?
Bay.
Brown tack or black tack?
Black tack.
Sponge or curry brush?
Sponge.
Okay. Shod or barefoot?
Shod.
Bumper pull or gooseneck?
Gooseneck.
All day. Rope halter or nylon halter?
Nylon halter.
Wood fence or electric fence?
Wood.
Favorite piece of barn equipment?
Favorite piece of barn equipment? My clippers.
Favorite piece of tack?
My saddle. I have a Levitt and Ricketts. Probably the most expensive saddle I've bought, but I mean, I love it. Yeah.
When was the last time you fell off?
The last time I fell off, it was 7 years ago. I was at that international show. I had just won the driving class, and I decided to hop on and show in the bareback class because there was in a bareback. I was like, I'll enter, she'll go. So I snatched the fine harness off, jumped on her, and jumped completely right on off. I just literally jumped on the ground. But we got second. We ended up getting second in the class, so we're okay. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. If money was no object, what is one horse-related purchase you would buy? I mean, you would make, not buy.
Okay. I want I don't want to say farm because I think that's kind of easy. I want a horse box, and I saw there's a company, Equine Coach, I think it is. They have this huge, it's in America, this huge horse box that has like, it's like an RV in the front, and like you can hold up to like 4 horses in the back.
Yeah.
And that saves me money on hotels. And I can turn the back once the horses are in the stalls. I can turn the back into like a prep area. But if you got, I'll send a link later. But I think it's Equicoach or Equine Motor Coach. Really good. They're like $500,000 though. So yeah, I don't buy those. But if money was hard.
Yeah, they're a lot more common in the UK than they are here.
Yeah.
That was
them skinny roads up there.
Well, again, my horses, like I said, my horses are in Tennessee. I don't even bring them. And the few that I did have, like I'm used to pulling a bumper, gooseneck, and dually, so it's fine. But yeah, give me a. I would like. It's cute. It's like you can be bougie,
Right.
But you pull up
you get that soon, so we can see what yours look like.
Right. We don't roll over you.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Well, thank you so much for taking time.
I'm sending you a link. I'm sending you guys the link.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. There are so many gems. Like I got a whole page of things that, we need to be sharing out of this episode. Tell people where they can find you and, become friends with you if they want.
Okay. I am Fine Chocolate Man on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to catch me, because I do look at my DMs from that. Robert Bowden. My business is called Coco Vivere, COCOAVIVERE.com. But yeah, Fine Chocolate Man is the easiest to remember, and it's the most accessible, interchangeable. I'm there. Shoot me a message. I will always answer questions or talk about disciplines. I'm connected to a lot of people in other breeds. It's not just walking horses for me. There's hunter jumper, black trainers on hunter jumper, reining, all of those things. So I'm glad to answer as best I can those questions. And I would love to. I would love to expose more people to the breed that I love. So
I love it. Something that just popped in my head. We just so happened to interview you during Pride Month.
That's true. Again, I'm a bad guy. Sometimes I forget things, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. But I try to one of those things. One of the examples people always ask about living and making an impact. I try to live uncompartmentalized. I think it's very easy to believe that you can hide various aspects of yourself. And I think as Black people, we are often, we code switch with the best of them. But I think that is born not out of a technique, but a necessity. And I think part of the evolution is, I don't want to say not giving a flip, but at a certain point, it takes all of these facets of me to make me. And so I'm not ashamed of any of them, but I own them. And I want people to know that you can be a three-dimensional complex person. You're not in a box. You're not. When I moved to Jersey, I had someone ask, how did I have a lot of trouble being an openly gay horse trainer? And I said, there are more gay horse trainers than you realize. But at the same time, I said, I had far more issue being a Black horse trainer than I did being a gay horse trainer.
Right.
And that's just the reality. But no, it is Pride Month. And I think I want more people to realize that there is a whole gay equestrian circuit. There is, that's why I was Illinois Gay Rodeo winner for 2010. There's a whole network of people who have created a safe space to be Western-centric, horse riding loving people who happen to have this other facet to their personality. And I think it is important to, regardless of your walk of life, to embrace that, yeah, I'm not a one-hit wonder, I'm not one note, there are many other pieces. We sometimes try to discount them and say, oh, I'm this, I may happen to be this, but I'm really, no, I am a Black gay horse trainer that happens to own a business that allows me to do all the things that I do. And I don't create addendums around my adjectives. So, yeah.
Love it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
This has been so much fun, though. Thank you, guys.
I know.
Been great.
I know. And I'm looking at this equine motor coach, and I'm like,
okay,
my daddy, because he always looking like, what's my next camper?
This right here. See,
this one right here.
I was like, when you open the front and you just walk through the back. Oh, okay. See.
Yes, I can get down with all that. So
yeah,
I'm gonna add that to my vision board.
See, put that on your vision board. They're in Indiana. I do know that. Maybe they can, do you need to why do you need a sponsor? Hey, why don't we're gonna go on the road and do what? See?
Yeah.
We are exposing you to a new market.
You better stop.
See? It's like, hey,
we're gonna have to talk.
Maybe we don't need to own it. We just need to use it. You can keep it, you can get it back.
Right.
We just need to use
I would
it.
prefer not to have to pay for it.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm
Definitely
like, you
take
know,
pictures for the gram.
yeah, we will take pictures. We will and put you in front of new markets that you clearly have no access to.
Exactly.
So, you know, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way, you know, I think it's tapping into stuff like things we would never see. When was the last time you saw something that like that in, at least in America? So yes, to me, I look at doing stuff like that. Like, how do we just show up? Just show up. Yeah. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Young Black Equestrians. Head over to our Facebook or Instagram pages and let us know what you thought about that episode. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and have the opportunity to be featured in our next episode. See you next week.